Stephanie closed her eyes and held out her hands, her son's almost uncontrollable excitement rubbing off on her and making her feel like a child again herself. It was hard to believe it had been 9 years. 9 years ago today she had been shivering because of the cold and crying because it was raining and her hair was going to get ruined, and James had burst into the hotel room where she had been getting ready, ignoring all the voices, telling him it was bad luck for him to see his bride before the ceremony, because he had known she would be nervous and that she would care about seeing him more than she would worry about breaking with tradition. "You're going to have to wear a mac," he'd said, "and galoshes. Oh, and maybe a rain bonnet. That'll look nice." And despite her nerves, Stephanie had laughed. "I mean, I can't marry you if you look like a drowned rat. It'd be bad for my reputation." Stephanie's mother, who had been helping her squeeze into her untraditional grey satin dress, and who had never quite got James's sense of humour, had tutted and tried to usher him out of the room, but James had flung himself into an armchair in the corner and refused to budge. By the time they had had to leave for the register office, Stephanie had felt relaxed and in control, secure that this was going to be the happiest day of her life, just as it was meant to be. In the end, her hair had lain plaster to her head, like wet string, and James had told her that she'd never looked so beautiful, and he'd said it with such conviction that she'd actually believed him. Every year since, he had made a big fuss on their anniversary, surprising her with cleverly chosen gifts, a pair of heavily decorated designer Wellingtons the first year, a reference to the weather on their wedding day, but also, as it turned out, something she now treasured for a different reason, a reminder of their last weekend spent stomping around in the mud at Glastonbury before she'd found out she was pregnant with Finn. A night away at a B&B, complete with his parents' offer of babysitting when Finn was 2, and Stephanie was at the furthest edge of her rationality. Last year, a flowery tin watering can he had known she had her eye on. Fired up by his enthusiasm, she had planned surprises for him too. Something her family had never really gone in for, Christmas being more a time for, "What do you want? A new blender? Fine, that's what I'll get you." Over the years she had bought him books and gadgets, and once, when she was feeling particularly sentimental, a photograph of the 3 of them in a silver frame. The rule was that the gift had to remain secret until the big day, something which Finn, confidant of both parents in the planning stages, always struggled with. This year Stephanie had bought James a fish-shaped corkscrew, which Finn had insisted his father had been admiring in a shop window, although she'd had her doubts. He had opened it eagerly, tearing off the paper, and had certainly seemed delighted, although Stephanie knew he would never have given away that he wasn't. Now it was her turn, and the suspense was killing her. "Come on," she laughed. She could hear Finn giggling with excitement. "Don't open your eyes," James said, and she felt a small, light, square box drop into her outstretched hands. She had suspected that he was going to buy her the new Jamie Oliver. In fact, she had been hinting heavily to Finn that that was what she wanted. This didn't feel like the new Jamie Oliver. "Okay, you can open them now." She did as she was told. In her hand was a small but distinctive red box. This wasn't right. They weren't meant to spend a lot. The presents were a token, a bit of fun. It was most definitely the thought that counted. "Okay," she thought, "I'll open it, and inside there'll be a plastic necklace from Camden Market. That'll be the joke." Finn was jumping up and down. "Open it!" She arranged her face into what she thought was a look of genuine expectation. James had done this before. Once he had wrapped a huge box in beautiful flock paper, and when she had unwrapped it, there was another, and then another, until finally all that was left was an empty matchbox. Then he had produced her real gift from behind the sofa. Finn had thought it was the funniest thing he had ever witnessed. She opened the box. Inside was something that seemed to be doing a very passable imitation of a silver bracelet inlaid with pink stones. Stephanie looked at James quizzically. He raised his eyebrows as if to say, "Well, what did you expect?" She picked the bracelet out of its white satin bed. It was most definitely not plastic. "James?" "Don't you like it?" Finn was saying. "Of course I do. I love it. But it's too much. Since when did we do this? Spend fortunes on each other. I mean, this must have cost a fortune." "I wanted to get you something nice, something proper for a change, to show you how much I appreciate you. Well, how much I love you, really." "Yuck!" Finn said, and made a face as if he was going to be sick.